Welcome back to Fujitsu Forum TV as we wind down on day 2 of Fujitsu Forum 2018. 12,500 business leaders travelled from over 80 countries to come and experience innovation and solutions that impacted not just business, but society. Think back to the keynote, the opening keynote yesterday morning by President Tanaka and Duncan Tate, the EMEA head of region. They were talking about the importance of putting a human-centric approach within your strategy. Up next, we're going to further delve into this and elaborate on the need for putting humans at the heart of everything you do. Joining us, our show sponsors on Fujitsu Forum TV, Citrix. We're joined by Ephraim Stringfellow and Masako Takaji. Thank you both for coming and speaking to us. Ephraim, firstly, before we get into the questions, tell us a bit about your role and the relationship between Citrix and Fujitsu.
All right, well, thank you and hello. My role, I'm the Vice President, Worldwide Global Systems Integrators. And it's a new role. It's a new role to Citrix. But it speaks to our commitment to the likes of Fujitsu and similar others from a go-to-market standpoint. Although I'm new to Citrix, only being on board for 7 months, not new to the industry. I've worked for the likes of IBM, NEC Corporation, and Microsoft prior to joining Citrix. But early on in my Citrix career, I had an opportunity to meet with the senior leaders from Fujitsu of both the Japan organization and EMEA. And we talked about how we could partner even better moving forward. And as a result of that, we made the commitment to hire the global sales director, Masako, to come on board and help us lead our efforts to partner even better moving forward. So I'm excited that she's on board. I'm excited that we're positioned well to further our partnership with Fujitsu. So I'd like to thank them formally for the partnering in the past, but more importantly, thank them for even more partnering as we land on joint initiatives that will benefit both of our organizations moving forward.
I know if President Tanaka was here, he would echo those sentiments and say that you're a valued partner of Fujitsu, and we're wholeheartedly excited about the future working together with you. And Masako, let's pick up on this human-centric approach. We heard about it yesterday morning in the keynote. We know businesses want creativity, innovation, technology, but if we're not putting people first, it's all going to fail, isn't it?
Right. And then that is why, Citrix, we put people at the center of our solutions as well. And the reason we partner with Fujitsu and makes a lot of sense to us is, as the keynote as well, they put people first. And as we all know, enterprises, the number one asset for any company is people. And it depends on how you enable, empower people, you get different results, right? So if you want to have a competitive advantage, then people-centric solution and a people-centric strategy is critical.
What are the barriers to delivering this on a global scale? I mean, particularly as the explosion of cloud, digital transformation and increased flow of data. I mean, there's got to be so many challenges for business to actually deliver these human-centric programs, hasn't there?
Right, it is. And so nowadays, people often talk about millennials. There are people, who are used to doing things in different devices. People are no longer 9 to 5 in an office in front of a computer. And then people got used to having apps on their phone. So new people, new generation expect the same kind of experience working at a company. So, they want access to different applications fast. When you bring a new employee on board, they want to, a lot of the companies as an incentive say, hey, bring your own device. Work the way you want. So now everybody expects, I want to work with the device I want, where I choose to work, when I choose to work. I want to have work-life balance. And that's not limited to millennials, by the way. I am far beyond millennial, but I appreciate that work-life balance too. But when that requirement and expectation is imposed on IT, the traditional method doesn't work, right? But you want to make sure you empower these people to do their job. So there's risk factor when there's different applications involved, but you got to deliver it fast. You can't implement ERP in the back end, wait 6 months, 12 months in order to deliver the requirement that people need to do their jobs. So the balance is pretty challenging. There's risk involved, but how do you alleviate that is you work with people like us who have solutions centered around people, and security to go with it.
We were talking to Brian Janes earlier today. He came back and spoke to us. He brought SAP with him. So we were talking about the challenge that businesses have in making that move to the cloud, particularly if they've got legacy programs, and the fear that boardrooms will have on downtime with applications. Although it's a valid fear, it's no longer a problem for business, is it? I mean, there are workaround solutions to make sure that these big global enterprise businesses can carry on having access to everything they need, where they want it, at any time, in any location. That's the future of business, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And then some people fear that it is about shifting totally from their existing environment to cloud. And I think there's also a middle ground, right? There are companies that require to have certain things on-premise due to regulations on privacy, data privacy, etc. But that being said, there are things that can go into the cloud. So where it makes sense. So it depends on the application. Some things may be served in the cloud. And what it does globally is, a lot of times, even when you and I make travel reservations, I'm sure sometimes you call airline, at a certain time, it switches over to another location globally. People in India answer, and then you go to the Philippines, and then come back, go to North America. You want to have a unified experience for the people accessing the system. And that is possible with a combination on-premise and cloud.
What about the CEO and the CIO? How does working with Citrix and Fujitsu particularly benefit them? What benefit are they receiving specifically?
So the benefit is the CIOs get to be the innovators and enablers. Before it used to be, in some office, locked with data, the servers and stores. No longer the case. With working with us and also Fujitsu, they can help the companies transform into more digital native. And then again, digital native doesn't mean that everything has to go in the cloud, right? It could be a combination of both, hybrid. But I think CIOs now are expected or have a chance to prove themselves to be more the business driver, empowering people through technology.
Off camera, I was talking to your marketing team yesterday, and I said, we want to hear about a great story, a real success story. And I was told, I've got to ask you about the work you're doing with Red Bull. Apparently, this is quite innovative. What's happening between Citrix and Red Bull right now?
Okay, so Red Bull is our client, and the racing team, their headquarters in the UK. And what they do is we work very closely with them. So I'm not the expert on racing tracks, but it's certainly a very exciting, activity. But what they do is they have races around the globe. And when there's a car in a racetrack, there's a lot of sensors within the car. That data that they get from the sensors get sent over to the headquarters. And then because with that, the people with the CAD designs, they can make changes to the design of the car that gets them fed into the manufacturing of the vehicle. So we make it possible for Red Bull the racing team to collaborate seamlessly, despite the race may be happening somewhere in south of France, and designers may be in UK. But that collaboration capability we offer so that we can make changes as they go to the design as well as the performance of the actual car on the racetrack.
Well, if you're able to do that in real time for a Formula One car driving at speeds in excess of 200 miles an hour, then applying that to businesses around the globe, that's got to be the easy bit, isn't it? Well, look, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you both, and thank you for coming and joining us at Fujitsu Forum 2018. I know the Fujitsu team are honoured to have you here, and thank you for sponsoring Fujitsu Forum TV. It's been a wonderful 2.5 days, and it wouldn't have been possible if you hadn't helped us out with that, so thank you very much.
No, thanks for the opportunity.
Still plenty more to come today. We've got a security interview coming up. What time are we at? It's 3:39 now, 4 o'clock today. If you are a CEO, you can't afford to miss this one. I know I've said it a lot today, but $610 billion is lost to cybercrime right now. Over the next 2 years, it's forecast 20 billion devices will be connected to the internet and 80% of data flowing through the cloud. That number, that $610 billion number, will only rise. We're being told CEOs, CIOs, CTOs, they're not involved in the conversation enough. It's wrongly being left to technical. We will be explaining in about 20 minutes time why you really can no longer afford to leave security just to your technical team. Put simply, you can't afford it. Stay with us. That's 4 o'clock, security. That'll be our last interview. See you soon.